My name is Floroliva, and I am a Cal State San Bernardino alumni. So I went to I went to three. I went to Riverside Community College for about a year, and then, oh no, I went to four. So I went to Riverside Community College for about a year. I went to FITM, which is the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandise, for 2. And then I went back to school because I wanted to earn my bachelor's degree. And I spent another year at Pasadena City College to transfer into Cal State San Bernardino, which is where I was for 2 years earning my bachelor's degree. So I have an associate's in design and merchandise from FITM, and then I have an associate's from Pasadena City College in communications, and then I have my bachelor's from Cal State San Bernardino in communications with the emphasis on PR. I had all my classes, well, not all, but most of them as a communications major in one building, and I can't think of the name of that one building, but pretty much everything was either downstairs or upstairs of the one building. And as I got further into my bachelor's, it just became more concentrated in the one building with the same students. So it was kind of nice because it was like a cohort, and I knew exactly where the bathrooms were, the vending machine. It was easy to get in and out. So other than that, I remember spending time in the library, and then also kind of like a awning area just to chill in between classes. That's it. Mostly because I wanted to work for a nonprofit. So at the time I was working in the apparel industry, and I actually still am, but what inspired me was wanting to get out of the apparel industry and work in something that I felt was more impactful. And it felt like a no-brainer to do communications and PR just based off my interest, and also just wanting to get into the nonprofit world. It felt like I don't want to say the fastest route, but since I was an adult returning to school, the fastness was important to me. So it felt like the fastest route with also the classes. When I looked at like the pamphlet and everything available, it interested me the most. It was just the wanting to work in something impactful. I felt that PR was impactful. I know there's different ways you could be in PR. You could do media, and maybe that's not as impactful, or it could be, but I was really interested in working for a nonprofit. So that really inspired me. I had a coworker who was also in the apparel industry with me, and he was going to school at the same time, or he started before me. So seeing him, hustle out of work to make it to class, and him doing it because he was ahead of me, it really inspired me to do it, to go back to school as an adult. And I think he had a social it was a different major than me, so he didn't really inspire me to chase the same major, but he did inspire me to go back to school and do something that I wanted to do, instead of like, well, I went to FITM, I should be here in the apparel industry. So he did the same thing, and he was like, no, I want more, I deserve more, and he was going after it. So I didn't quit my job. I didn't have that luxury, so I was working full-time in the apparel industry and going to school full-time. I was also engaged at the time, so I was planning a wedding, and juggling all three was difficult, but I had a lot of support. I also had support from where I was working, and they were open to me like, hey, as long as you're working I think the minimum was 38 hours a week, which would still qualify me as full-time. That's fine. You need to get here super early to leave early, that's fine. You need to get here a little late to stay late. So I had a lot of support. I had support from my fiance, my mom, my parents both, my friends. So the challenge was just time. Commuting, working, and finding the time to do homework. So I did intern when I was in FITM for websites, which could relate to PR. So I felt like that kind of came in handy. It was a little precursor to what I ended up going back to school for. I don't remember the companies, but at this point it was a lot of online shopping was taking off. So a lot of internships that were available were like clothing sites. And so part of it was being like a good wordsmith, having to communicate clearly while also being fun. A lot of these like clothing websites, they want to appeal to, if it's for males or females, like young ladies, young men. So you can't just be like super cut and dry. So that was good experience. When I was in school, I interned for the school, and I coordinated the, what was it going to be called? It was like a big communications event. It didn't end up going through because of COVID, but that was a big learning experience because I was the lead and I was leading different people and had hands in everything, and worked directly with my PR professor, who is absolutely amazing. And so that was probably the most important experience I had, even though I was in the bubble of CUS, like of Cal State San Bernardino. But just having my professor like lead me and teach me these things and help me help everybody else was, I feel like, priceless. I don't want to say everything, but I remember taking a journalism class and I was dreading it. I ended up loving it, and I would have to go to like events on campus and write, not reports on them, but basically try to get into the school newspaper about it, write an article about it. By the end of the semester, I loved it. I love like digital marketing and all that. I mean, I think it just goes back to working in apparel because that's the world I know. So I love like social media aspect of PR, the marketing aspect of PR, like even though it is part of like just trying to get consumers, but I think there's companies that do good out there, so it could be used for good, but I do love that aspect. I loved my crisis class. Like I almost wanted to get into crisis PR because it's just so interesting, and I consider myself a problem solver. It's hard to answer because I really feel like I found the right major for me, because every class I took that was a different part of PR communication, I ended up loving and considering like, well, maybe this is what I want to do for work. Maybe it's not nonprofit. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So I think just communication, I don't know. I love to see people find their voice, and I love to feel, as a woman, as a person of color, as the daughter of immigrants with an immigrant husband, someone from California, raised here, everything. Like I feel like I live in a lot of different spaces, like as a Mexican American too. So I love to see all these different little columns of my life find their voice. So that's very personal to me. Overall, I love to see that for everybody. Like there's some campaigns out there and some people being reached out to out there that I personally never thought of because maybe I'm not impacted by it. So I love to see like the outreach that there is with, you know, people with disabilities, and some disabilities aren't really seen. So I love to see it because it opens my eyes to this. Like maybe I never thought of the way that the world could be better for people who have a disability, because I personally don't have one, but because of PR and like the outreach, I see these campaigns and I'm like, oh my God, that's great. Like I want to donate. I want to go on that. I want to do the walk. I want to fundraise. So I just think it's great that so many different types of people and like so much diversity is being acknowledged. For me personally, going on walks or just working out, even if it's in the gym, I know some people like to think of the gym as like a torturous thing, but for me it's so relaxing, and my mental health is really, really, like I'm feeling really good after, even if I'm not like seeing the results or I'm not super jacked or whatever, super fit. just going to the gym and being active and walking, lifting, whatever it is I'm doing, trying different classes, Pilates, yoga, just being active for my personal health, like personally for me, has really helped. And I can tell when I'm not able to go, let's say I'm really busy and I can't go to the gym as much, I can feel this like negativity or just something different about myself. And then when I realize it, like, oh, well, I haven't had time to go to the gym, like that's what it is. So when I get back on my workout schedule, I feel like myself again. Unfortunately, the most memorable would have to be COVID, because that happened right when we were going to have our event that I was the lead intern for. And of course it got canceled. Our graduation got canceled. Everything shifted to online. I mean, we all know how everyone's life changed. So when I think of Cal State San Bernardino, I can't help but to think of that, just because the world changed overnight, and all these plans that we had as a class of 2020, you know, in communications, like we're gonna have this event, we're gonna do this, I was getting invited to people's graduation parties. All of it was just stopped, like done. So that also, having a class, I wasn't an intern, it was my class for the Cal State San Bernardino radio show. That was really fun. That's probably my second most memorable thing. And that's just something I did because I needed units and I ended up loving it. So I did it for 2 quarters. So I went back because I liked it so much. And my co-hosts, so we had a little radio hour, like we were DJs. We're still friends, we still keep in touch. So it actually led to a really nice friendship too. So that's the second. And also my connection with my professors who, one in particular that I feel, and I know I could still reach out to, in addition to just everything I learned from my other professors. And I feel like I could think of more that maybe I didn't keep in touch with, but if I had a question or needed anything, I know I could email them and they would take the time to reply to me and help me. So the communication, or like the unity that we were able to have and I was able to feel from their leadership is probably another most memorable. So I'm currently still in the apparel industry, but now I'm in a position of leadership and I manage people. So I feel like my communication degree is coming into, I'm definitely using it a lot, managing about 5 to 6 people. So I think next for me is either continuing this path and of leadership in the apparel industry, or maybe when I feel like the time is right, oh my God, that's a cute puppy, sorry. When I feel the time is right, trying to transition into a different section of PR that maybe isn't related to the apparel industry, or some sort of a bridge into more of like social media managing or something in that world, even if it is apparel. But I still think about my original dream of wanting to work for a nonprofit. So maybe that could be next. But for now, it's definitely continuing to be the position of leadership I am now. And I always say bridge the gap. So I work with one team, but we work with many other teams. And bridging the gap in communication is I think like my strongest asset in that company. So continuing that is the short term, long term, it could be anything.